Hello guys, and welcome to yet another video today. Yes, I am giving you guys a second video today because there's a lot to go over here in the Atlantic side of things that I want to talk about today while they're still fresh on my mind. Anyways, we're going to be looking at the ENSO 3.4 region. We're going to be seeing sea surface temperatures and the departures from normal. And we're going to take a look at the CFS for, I think we're going to go April, May, and June probably. We're going to go to the first 3 months from now, so we get a better look at what's going on. And then we got some interesting tweets to look at in the future, for the future as well. So with that being said, let's start things off with the Nino 3.4 region. And as you can see, the last few days we've had an increase of the ENSO region, but then you see that it's taken a dip again. We got it as high as negative 0.913, I believe, but right now we're sitting at a negative 0.956. And I do expect that these numbers are going to decrease as time goes by. And I will show you guys here why near the end of the video. But this is a very telling sign right here, as this is a getting to moderate La Nina stage here. And what this will do in the Eastern Pacific is it'll cause shear in the Eastern Pacific, which will stop storms from getting going very good, or just stop storm formation, period. I mean, obviously there's going to be storms in the East Pac, but it might not be a very strong season compared to what you would get with a neutral or an El Nino pattern in that area. And what it does return to Atlantic is we get less shear in the areas around, and that will help the storms form quicker and probably more frequently as we head deeper into the hurricane season. So this is going to be telling to see how far this goes down as we go out through time. All right, so here is the sea surface temperatures for the Western Atlantic, and as you can see, some of these temperatures have been brought down a little bit by the cold front, but it wasn't as detrimental as I thought it was going to be. There's still 26s and 27s surrounding the Keys and near Miami here, so it didn't really do too much to the SSTs here. As you can see here, the 27s are starting to creep up here in the Turks and Caicos in the Bahamas, and we also have some 28s here, and maybe even some 29s starting to creep here into the Caribbean here. And then we got some 26s here in the Bay of Campeche, which this could be a watch area here in May as we go out through time. And once we get to the CFS models, I will talk about that more in detail. All right, so here is the tropical Atlantic here. And as you can see, these 26s are starting to finally creep past the 10 north area here in some cases, here near the eastern MDR region. But we're going to have to see how far this comes up north, because here in the eastern MDR, these sea surface temperatures that are good enough for tropical cyclone development are near the equator. Yes, this isn't a good look for at least the eastern MDR section of the Atlantic. So we're going to see how that plays out as we head out through time. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the Western Atlantic's 7-day departures from normal. And as you can see, parts of the Gulf has really cooled off here. I think that was in accordance to the cold front that came through. That might have been anyways. But as you can see here in the Bay of Campeche, it has warmed up in the last 7 days to 1 to 1.5 degrees above normal here, or not above normal, but the 7-day change anomalies. But what is really telling here is this spot here near the Keys in southern Florida here. As you can see, these are 3.5 degrees above the 7-day normal. And this is after a cold front came through, so this is still pretty decently warm here in the 7-day change. But as you can see here, Caribbean, there's some cool anomalies, some neutrals, and some warm anomalies here. So this is pretty much typical for this time of year in that area. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the tropical Atlantic SST anomaly 7-day changes here. And as you guys see, it's been cooling down. It's been cool to neutral in these areas. There's been no warm up here in the last 7 days, besides a little bit of sprinkles here and there of warmer anomalies that are popping up in these places. Um, we're going to need to have this change if we're going to have a hyperactive season. Obviously, you still get an above average season with this look, but if you're a person that's looking for a hyperactive season, this is not your look right here. You need these these temperatures to start warming up if you're a person that is a hyperactive type of person. I personally see above average season, but we'll have to see how this all evolves from now until June or July, so we would really tell what is going to be going on during the hurricane season. All right, so here is the CFS version 2 total and accumulated precipitation anomalies, and this is for April here. We got some moisture here in the subtropics. It's your typical suspect area here in the subtropics when it comes to early to preseason activity, and April does have a lot of moisture here in the subtropics. But which is also interesting is most of the Caribbean is pretty wet here too. So obviously I don't see anything coming out of April, but that could change. We could be surprised. It's happened before. Who's to say it can't happen again in the future? All right, so here is May. Now this is really telling here, because if you watched Mark's this video today, he says he's watching this area between Florida, the Yucatan, and just this area in general for maybe some tropical cyclone genesis in the month of May. And as you guys know, the last couple of years, I think it's been 7 years actually, that we've had preseason starts for the hurricane season. So we're just gonna have to see how you know, these much above average anomalies, pan out here in the month of May, which we will talk about, in the coming weeks and months ahead. All right, so here's June, and right now, this area in the subtropics looks to be pretty much prime area for maybe some tropical cyclone genesis. Obviously, this precipitation doesn't automatically mean subtropical cyclone genesis, but it means the potential is there for maybe something tropical to develop. And it looks like Florida is in a wet, pattern here for June. So it's going to be interesting to see if we get something into Florida in June too. That could be I think it was the Eastern Coast LRC. I forgot what month and day that was already, but this could be an LRC event here for the Florida Peninsula once we get into June. So we're just gonna have to see how that all plans out. And we also got a little bit of wetness here in the Bay of Campeche, but this might not be a good enough anomaly to assume any type of tropical cyclone genesis. All right, so now we're looking at the CFS2 bulk shear here, and this is pretty interesting here. As you guys see, these reds are indicative of unfavorable shear, while these blues are showing favorable shear. And like I showed you guys on the CFS precip anomaly, right where that precipitation was, there is plenty of favorable shear here in those locations. So who knows? We may have to watch something in April if CFS pans out. Now, like I said, I'm not saying this is probably gonna happen, but we're gonna have to wait and see how that all plans out as we go forward. And also, that precipitation here in the Caribbean is also, here favored by favorable shear. So, we're just gonna have to see what happens. All right, so here we are in the month of May. And as you can see here, we got unfavorable conditions near the Florida coastline and into the Florida peninsula. But where you saw those, precipitation marks, here you go, favorable, conditions here in the northwestern Caribbean. And this is where Mark said we should be paying attention to. Now, if you watch Weather Hub's, video, he said somewhere around May 14th to May 21st. So that's pretty much my timeline as well. So we're just going to have to see how that all pans out going forward. And here's June. And as you can see, freaking everywhere is favorable pretty much for tropical cyclone genesis. But there's other factors that go into this as well. Whether there's air and dust, we gotta pay attention to the SAL here, and that can be a detrimental thing too, because at this point in time, in the course of this season at the start, that's when Sal is usually at its worst. So, but as you can see here, in the places that are typical, there's definitely favorable wind shear about. All right, so now we are going to take a look at some of these tweets now. This is from Ben Knoll. He is looking ahead to the hurricane season. A few things that has his attention are La Nina-like pattern in warm Atlantic. That's a check. Tropical forcing favored over Africa, Indian Ocean. That looks like a check by some of these things. Above normal rainfall in the MDR, check. And high heights over Northeast Canada, check. Equals yikes. So here is a look at the June, July, August look for the Enzo, and as you can see, this is a typical La Nina like pattern here. You can see these blues that are dominating the central and western Pacific here, and this is going to be detrimental to the eastern Pacific too, because this is probably going to cause some shear problems in the eastern Pacific, and as you can see here, the warm anomalies here, in the eastern, or not the eastern Atlantic, but the whole Atlantic as a whole, is pretty much out there as well. This is a bad look right here, because if you have the MGO just sitting in one place, like the Indian Ocean, that's going to be a tropical cyclone making machine there, as it's going to propagate tropical waves out towards the west. That's going to exit from Canada, not I almost said Canada, but exit from Africa, and these tropical waves are the seeds for what could be tropical cyclones. And as once the MGO is placed in the Indian Ocean, that is when the bad news starts. And it looks like August of 2022 that MGO is going to be stuck in the Indian Ocean and over Africa. So we're just going to have to see how that goes going forward. All right, so here are the precipitation forecasts on the NMNAE forecast for September through November 2022. And as you can see, like point number 3 says, above normal rainfall in the MDR. Here we go. Here's the greens, and that's looks like a typical track for out to sea storms. So we're gonna have to see how that pans out. But then you also got this area right here. So the Caribbean could be a breeding ground at this point for tropical cyclones to possibly go right into the United States, and this is definitely not a good look right here if you're if you're not wanting a cyclone. So you have to pay attention to what's going on out there. Also, this right here, this is the ridge anomalies here, and as you can see, this deep red here that is located across northeast Canada here. This is not a good sign. This is not a good sign at all if this holds true, because what this is going to do is this is going to block any systems from recurving out to sea here, and they're going to take it right into America, whether it be North Carolina, Florida, or somewhere in the Gulf here. you know this is not something that you want to see. We better hope that this does not come to fruition here, or we're all going to be in trouble. I'm not hype casting. I'm not a hyper. I'm just showing you guys what it is and telling you guys how it is. All right, so here is Danny Morris here. He's a very, very intelligent person when it comes to this stuff. And this tweet says, so what about 2022? Well, it's still early this far out. The plus for a hyperactive year is the warm Caribbean. Check, we got that, the warm Caribbean. But a cool tropical Atlantic and warm subtropical Atlantic are a negative. Hopefully, we know more in the coming months, but at this moment, signs point to at least an above average year. And this is correct. You don't want the subtropics being warm and the tropical Atlantic being cooler to get a hyperactive system. And like I said, at the beginning, near the beginning of this video, if you're looking for a hyperactive season, right now it's not looking like that's the case. We're still gonna have an above average season. There's no doubting that right now. But until this warms up in the MDR and this cools down in the subtropics, you're not gonna get a hyperactive year, unfortunately, for those that are looking for a hyperactive year. All right, so here is the NOAA research account here, and it says La Nina is forecasted to continue into the northern hemisphere summer of 2022 with nearly equal chances of Enzo negative or La Nina afterwards. So what this is implying is, La Nina is pretty much here to stay for the summer. I don't think it's going to go away unless there's something magnificent that happens between now and then. It looks like La Nina is going to be sticking around for the summer, and this is a strengthening third year La Nina too, and that hasn't happened since 1975. So this is telling you how much history we're watching right now. As we go out through time. Um, like Mark Solis said that a strong to super La Nina could happen, even though super La Nina is not technically a term that people use. But I guess to him, super La Nina is like -2 to -2.5. Honestly, I don't think it's going to go down that far. We could get the strong La Nina, but we're just gonna have to see what happens. All right, so here's Jim Tang, and this says the evolution of MGO this year reminds him remarkably of 2000. That was a pretty active year for the near the start of the active era. That was 5 years into the active era, and I think that was a hyperactive year, which was the second year of a third-year La Nina period. Obviously, no ability of MGO to penetrate through the maritime continent and continue its constructive feedback with Nina base state. So here's the thing. The MGO has pretty much been trapped in the Indian Ocean for what feels like a freaking month now, and it tried to go into the Western Pacific the first time, but then failed, and that's why we're seeing continuous, easterly burst that is keeping the La Nina, strengthening, and it's going to try to go into the Westpac again, but a lot of people think it's going to fail again this time too. And if it fails again this time, it's a La Nina. There's just no change in that. There's probably no change in it now too, until we get probably towards the latter part of the season. So this is going to be interesting to see if it fails again. And as you can see, the comparisons between 2022 and 20 2000, I meant to say, it's pretty much the same, almost the same forecast as shown here in 2022. So we're just going to have to see how this all pans out. All right, so here is the 850 Sonal wind anomalies here, and these reds represent westerly bursts, and these blues represent easterly bursts. And as you can see, these westerly bursts, man, these westerly bursts are going to help create tropical troubles here in the Indian Ocean in a lot of these areas for what seems to be like a while now. But we're here more to focus on these blues and these purples here. And as you can see, like I said, these blues are indicative of easterly wind burst. And as you can see, they're pretty much stuck in the central and western Pacific for forever here. And as you can see here, it kind of gets stronger here in the western part by a good bit here. So if these eastern anomalies continue, then that's going to cause cooling in the equatorial regions of the Enzo. So here are the current zonal winds here. And like I said, easterly wind burst. Those are strong easterly wind bursts, guys. So this is, La Nina is probably going to stick around for a while to come. Could this become a western-based La Nina? We don't know yet, but regardless, we're going to be sticking to a La Nina pattern as we go out into the future, and this is going to be this is going to cause pretty major implications for the Atlantic hurricane season as we get through the next couple of months. Anyways, with that being said, I noticed it was a pretty decently long video today, but I appreciate you guys for watching it. Anyways, with that being said, um, get get your plans together. It could be a super active year, and it's not hyperactive, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be a super active year. Get your plans ready, so you can be ahead of the storm. That will help a lot. Anyways, until tomorrow, I'm tuning out. Have a nice day.